Hey everybody!
Hey!
Welcome to #Pastorbesties. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Melissa.
And today, oh my gosh, we have a special guest today on #Pastorbesties.
We do. We are talking about youth ministry today, and so we have brought in a youth ministry expert by the name of Luke Pepper.
Yay!
On today's
#Pastorbesties.
So, welcome. Look, here's Luke.
Hey Luke!
Hey, Luke.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Luke, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm an ordained deacon here in Northern Illinois. I serve at Kingswood United Methodist in Buffalo Grove, working with youth and mission ministries. I'm also getting my second master's in special education.
Dude, nice.
So, Luke, when do you have time to, sleep?
Friday mornings usually. That's about it.
Spoiler alert,
Wow.
we're filming this on a Friday morning. So Luke hasn't slept.
Exactly.
Okay, this is going to be real fun. How long have you been at your current appointment?
I will be starting my 6th year in August.
Oh wow, awesome. Love that.
So you are working in youth ministry, which is great because that's what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Youth
Yeah.
ministry. So we've all worked in youth ministry at some point. I am not currently solely in youth ministry, but I'm fully supportive.
Ditto.
So how long have you worked in youth ministry?
Before my current appointment, because I'm not working with youth currently, but before that, I worked with youth for 13 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a long time. In different places, not all in one place.
Yeah, yeah. I think at every appointment I have been working with youth ministry. I mean, it's been something
Sure.
it's important to me. I mean, that's why I'm in ministry, is because I didn't really have a youth ministry growing up. And so
yeah.
I want to make sure that others have something that I didn't have growing up.
I love that. Well, I think we all sort of have, great youth ministry stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, Luke, why don't you just share one with us? Just like a hilarious youth ministry story.
So a good story that I can think of is a few weeks ago I had Melissa come lead my 7th grade confirmation class. And she was leading a session on creativity and wonder. And so she decided that, which is certainly Melissa's thing, right? So she decided
Totally.
she decided to have them make some Galaxy Play-Doh. And so she brought all the ingredients and we set up in the kitchen. And the first thing that I said to her before we got started was that she would need to tell the 7th graders that they should not eat the Play-Doh that they were making. And I don't think she really believed me at first, but then the first question that she got from one of my 7th graders was, can we eat the Play-Doh? And even when she said no, she still decided to eat the Play-Doh. So,
They did.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of one time I was doing a Passover Seder with my confirmation class, and so I had horseradish on the plate, but it wasn't like horseradish sauce, it was like raw horseradish. So I was telling them, this isn't like the sauce you get at Arby's, guys, like this is raw, don't eat a lot of it because it will burn your face off. And the guy's like, oh no, I can handle it, and took a spoonful of horseradish, put it in his mouth, and then he threw up all over the Seder table.
Yummy.
I mean,
That's so gross.
yeah, it was gross. It was gross.
It's one of the 10 plagues for sure. So I had a mission trip that we were talking on. It's one of the first mission trips I ever did. And we were talking on there. We had this pants conversation the whole time. Like, put on your happy pants, take off your crabby pants. And sassy pants is what we settled on. So on the last day we were working and we were underneath a house. And one of the members of my team, he was being really sassy. And we were all tired. I was over it. So I just looked at him and I was like, you need to take off your sassy pants. He got really confused for a second. Yeah, this is going to go where you think it is.
No.
And he started to undo his belt. And I was like, oh my gosh, figuratively. What world do you think this is okay? His dad thought it was hilarious.
I'm glad that his dad experienced that firsthand instead of having to hear the story.
Yeah, his dad was also the leader on the trip. So I was
my
like,
gosh.
oh, dear sweet baby Jesus. So these are some incredible
This
stories.
is just like every day in youth ministry.
Yeah.
There's like a million stories to tell.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have these stories of youth ministry that always, there's some funny ones, there's some great ones. But do you have like a theology of youth ministry? I mean, there's all the things that youth
Right.
ministry is not.
I think that that's kind of where you have to start with what is youth ministry not. So, youth ministry is not having the youth do everything in the church that nobody else wants to do, like take out the trash and sweep the kitchen. I mean, that's not youth ministry.
My current youth leader has the philosophy, if you wouldn't do it yourself, don't ask the kids to do it.
Ooh, yes. Or, yeah, it's always like, oh, the youth can do that. They'll just fundraise and
Right.
do that. What? No.
I often feel like I'm the gatekeeper that prevents stupid ideas about what youth should do for the church.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you have to be because
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
has to tell them, no, the youth won't do that. The youth will lead the sunrise service.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to be there for the sunrise service. It's too early.
Bless their hearts.
Well, that's patronizing.
No, bless the hearts of the people who think that the youth should do the sunrise service.
Oh, good point. Got
Not
it.
the
I
youth.
would clarify that.
They need their hearts blessed too.
They do. One of the sentences that I think that I have the most disdain for in youth ministry is that youth are the future of the church.
That makes me want to throw up on the Seder table. I hate that. I hate that phrase. That's awful.
Right. Youth are the future of the church. They are also the present of the church. And so they shouldn't have to wait to make decisions or be a part of the life of the church.
Yeah, they should definitely be a part of the vision of the church now.
So those are some of the things that we think youth ministry is not. But you, Luke, you are the youth ministry expert. So tell us your theology of youth ministry.
My theology of youth ministry focuses on three things: developing servant leadership, teaching to transform the self and the world, and also creating a safe space for youth and for all youth. One of my favorite stories about our confirmands is a couple of years ago we were on a confirmation retreat out not too far from here, actually. And one of the things we always do is we're in teams courses that help them build leadership and build connections and work as a community together. And there was this one activity that they had to do where they had to get from point A to point B basically there were posts in the ground, and at different points along this little activity, and there was basically two. Now I'm trying to remember.
Is it like the... Take your time.
It's okay. Not that I didn't just preach this 2 weeks ago. So there were two posts that you could use to help connect from one post to the other. But there were about 4 different posts in the ground that you had to kind of make your way all the way across. And the idea is that there can only be one person on a post at a time, and eventually everyone had to get to the other side. And so eventually one of our 8th graders figured out what to do. They made it all the way across, but he made a really interesting choice. Rather than just staying there and waiting to see if everyone else could get across, he decided that he was going to make his way all the way back.
Oh.
And then walk each of them across and make sure that they each got there. And for me, I think that's a great example of what I think servant leadership is.
I love that.
That's great.
That is awesome.
That's great.
That is awesome.
Nicole, what is your theology of youth
I
ministry?
think whenever I work with youth, I want them to know that they have worth. I think it's something that just as humans in general, we need to hear, but youth especially need to hear that over and over. To be reminded that they have worth, that God loves them, that they are who God created them to be. And then because of that knowledge, that they can go out and change the world. You know, God has created them to be world changers. So they need to know who they are so that then they can go out and do what they're called to do.
Right. I think mine is whenever I plan any youth event or any youth activity, it was always remembering to work hard, to play hard, and to pray hard. And so we're always trying to make a difference in the world here and now and for the future, that's just my ministry philosophy, but we do that by working, by playing and being, and then also centering in prayer as well.
I love that. You guys, I love this. This is great.
Now, youth ministry is fantastic. It's amazing. There's lots of great stories. There are also some challenges that go along with youth ministry. So what kinds of challenges have you encountered in youth ministry?
Luke, what you got?
I think the biggest challenge that I deal with, especially in suburbia, is that everyone's overscheduled. And so we have to figure out how to help parents and youth create better priorities so that church is a priority, and that even when they're not, doing a church activity, they're able to view whatever they're doing, helping, with the school or even their sports activities as a way of being their whole selves and living out their faith in the world, so that they have some context to what they're doing.
Now, you have talked about, you have confirmation on Wednesday evening, and soccer is a big deal in your community. So how have you interacted with that?
So without saying it directly, I kind of try and help create a culture where Jesus is more important than soccer. Doesn't mean that soccer is not important, but that's what I try and do. And so at the beginning of every year, I talk with our parents and our youth about ways that they can make sure that confirmation stays a priority. So they could go to their coach and say, we have practice on Wednesday night, but we have confirmation and this is a priority. Can we practice on another night? What can we do to kind of work with our coaches to make it clear that we're in partnership and we're not opposing each other?
That's good.
I think one of the things that's so important is to teach parents that if they don't make this a priority for their child now, their child is not going to make it a priority for themselves later, most likely.
Right.
So by giving them the foundation now, you're helping them have a foundation in the future. So that's, it's important for parents to do that.
Right. I think one of the things that I have often found as a challenge is resources for youth ministry. Sometimes it's a financial resource, like if you have to fundraise for everything that you do.
Right.
If youth ministry is not a line item in your budget, there's the money part of youth ministry. And then there's also like the volunteer resources. So I worked at a church once where I had money for anything I wanted to do, but I had 0 volunteers.
Oh,
And that's just as frustrating as having 0 money.
It's important for the church to support youth ministry, to make it a priority, not just, the kids need a place to come and hang out, but to have a theology of youth ministry themselves so that they're making it a priority and, they're supporting it with not only finances, but also volunteer support.
So there's some of the reasons why we do what we do. And so there's those stories that we have of why we're doing youth ministry. So Nicole, what's one of those stories for you?
I have like a million, right? There's like a million stories, but the one that kind of comes to mind is I went on a trip when I was 8 months pregnant with my son. I don't know why, but I did. It was a choir trip, a choir tour. And, I was exhausted. We had been on this charter bus for what seemed like days. And we get to the dorm where we're staying, and I can't carry my luggage up the stairs because it's just too heavy. So one of my seniors, this boy, who, we hadn't really super connected, but he had been in the group for a while. He was like, "Oh, I'll get that for you, Pastor Nicole, no big deal." And he carries it upstairs, and we get to the room, and I open it up, and the beds are lofted. And I just start weeping because I can't get into a lofted bed. I'm 8 months pregnant, and I just start crying because I'm so tired. And he was like, "Hold on, Pastor Nicole, I got this." And he ran and got a couple of other guys. They unlofted the bed. He's like, "Can I make the bed for you? Let me make the bed for you." And just got me all set up. And it was just this heartwarming moment of him serving me in a way that I hadn't anticipated or expected. That just, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was just the best.
Luke, you had a really great interview with one of your confirmands this year.
Yes. So at the end of our confirmation program, it's a 2-year program, I always interview our 8th graders to get a sense of what their experience has been,
That is a great idea. Okay, I
It's
love that
awesome.
idea.
There's always really good stories that come out of it, and it's interesting to hear all of their different theologies and what they believe. And a couple of weeks ago, I was meeting with an eighth grader who wasn't baptized before, and so this is an opportunity for him to be baptized. And so I'm meeting with him and his parents to talk about, does he feel like he's ready to take on this commitment? And in conversation, we had a lot of great talk about just, what does he believe about the Bible and about the church and about theology. And then at one point he says that he doesn't feel like he's the type of person who can take on a big commitment. And he doesn't feel like he's the type of person that serves a lot. But then he said, but I feel like I do it in my own unique way, and that I believe that God loves me unconditionally, and because of that, I'm ready to be baptized. And that moment was certainly a tearjerker for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. When you see like a youth get it, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I think those are the stories for me too. When a youth, it feels like, oh my gosh, you get it. Just this past week, I was on one of my youth Snapchat stories, and like she put my favorite pastor, the best pastor. Like, there's the ego part of me that's like, yes, I am. Come on, I am not the only one who thinks that. But there's that moment of like, oh my gosh, like we are in each other's lives, and it's not just a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday morning thing. It's we're woven together in this thing called life.
I love that.
I had a youth once who felt a calling into ministry, and in talking with her about this calling into ministry, her dad also accepted his calling into ministry. Those are stories that like, just because of what we do and how we're in each other's lives, and how it is that we care for each other and make sure that they have worth and that they know who they are as a child of God. Like, these things happen.
Wow.
Yeah. So shout outs to youth workers
we
everywhere.
love you, youth workers. You're doing an amazing job,
Right,
and an important job.
Absolutely, because sometimes it can feel really frustrating and then
lonely.
right? And lonely, and even in youth ministry, when you have those high moments, there are those moments when you're like, did they listen? Are they understanding anything that I'm saying?
Right.
So there's moments that can be really frustrating. So shout outs to what you're doing, because what you're doing is important work and good work.
Yeah, keep doing it. You can. Just keep going on. You're going to make a difference.
So may you know that the work that you do is important, and may you work to make the world a better place for the future and for right now. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.